Hey guys, this is Jamie. So today, unfortunately, I have to talk about Looksmaxxing, and I saw some articles specifically from a trans perspective on it. And in general, it is a discussion which I feel like we need to have. And since I cover a wide range of sort of trans LGBT topics, I guess this just makes sense. Anyway, so I feel like at this point, everyone who only lives under a rock might not know who clavicular is, or know of Looksmaxxing, sort of the mewing, the bone smashing, and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we're all very online, and we're very aware of the damage he's been doing because the dude is obviously talking about really bizarre sort of eugenics ideals and very white centric ideologies. And I do have to say that one of the first things that I wanted to talk about was the fact that there was an incident where some trans woman told Clavicular that they were the original Lux Maxers, and this kind of confused me a bit. But then I realized that I know what they're saying because we do have a sort of toxicity in our trans community, which is we ask each other like, "Hey, do you think I pass? Hey, what can I do to pass?" And in general, it feels like a harmless idea, but in reality, it ends up with people sort of preaching some ideas of how men should look like without understanding that man can be a man or a woman can be in different ways. It's okay to have piercings because, like, for instance, usually when you go into those communities and you ask like, hey, can I have a piercing, they're like, no, you can't, that's going to make you clocky. And in general, sort of the rating or telling you how to pass communities and trans groups are very toxic also because of that. So they kind of it's it's pretty much an echo chamber of people thinking of certain ideas, and it's not good. And I do understand that obviously people turn to that because they feel like sad, depressed, or they don't understand why they don't pass, or maybe they just started their coming out journey. And the same thing happens in these manosphere looks maxing circles, where dudes feel like, they're not getting enough women, they're not getting enough attention, and they think that there's something wrong with them. Then they start thinking, oh, it's because of the way I look. Well, but in reality, is there was a good clip about this from Trixie and Katya, the drag queens, where Katya said, well, what about personality maxing? And that's the thing. These people focus on the exterior rather than thinking like, oh, I need to focus on something that makes me interesting, or that I'll discuss something with someone. And in general, I feel like the dating pool, sort of for people from what I see, has been terrible because people just focus on the outside and sort of like what can they put in a Tinder bio rather than getting to know someone. And I do understand that, like, I met my partner like very early in life, but we still sort of we bonded over things. Like, we bonded over music, we bonded over literature, we bonded over video games, we bonded over a bunch of stuff. So I can't possibly imagine why would someone, I guess, go a different way. So that's why I kind of get confused by dating apps. But again, I'm not sort of the person on them, and this isn't sort of my time to be on them because I'm not interested. And it's just really weird because obviously people go online to sort of find answers. Sort of like, hey, why don't people want to date me? What's wrong with me? And then they get told like, oh, like, you don't have a jaw, therefore no woman's gonna pay attention to you. But in reality, it's not really about the jaw. You need to have something that will attract someone beyond the jaw. Or if you want a superficial relationship with someone, then sure, focus on the jaw. But this isn't what we should be looking for and striving for in partners. A jaw is not, the end of everything. And going back to sort of like trans communities, like, there's also like I've talked about this sort of very softly on the topic, but I do feel like right now with the surgeries, like, there are certain surgeries like facial masculinization of facial feminization. And while I do understand, like, specifically like when people can get older and stuff like that, and it is everyone's choice, I am not super pro, for instance, masculinization surgery, specifically the facial one, because I feel like T gives you enough to work with. But I do understand that I don't have sort of the problems where I don't pass. I've been passing for many years, and when before I was on T. So I do understand that my opinion of like I don't know why you need to masculinize your face more when T does it already is valid because again, it's not unfortunately something that I dealt with. Like I passed very early on and I that's pretty much it. And for instance, for trans women can be harder to pass at certain times, or for trans men as well. But in general, like if we talk about surgeries, like you don't need like rhinoplasties like to pass. But I feel like we're sort of reaching the point where people end up sort of looksmaxing and looking at each other's sort of face charts, or like thinking like, oh, a few millimeters of bone is gonna make me more manly, make me more womanly. And people just stay inside these forums the whole day thinking that this is what, once they crack the code, they'll find out how to properly pass. And instead of going outside and developing relationships and talking to people who, sure, to some people you might be clockable, but sometimes when people get to know, and if you are in a safe, relatively safe country, maybe you just need to understand that it's okay to not pass all the time, or it's okay to sort of take a step back from these forums because like it's not worth just shutting yourself in the whole day and thinking what can you not change. And the issues with surgery, I feel like they're they become controversial because I, for instance, I'm not like super pro plastic surgery as well, like I said before. But again, if you want to do it, if it's something you want to do, that's okay. But it's just that right now we're on this insanely slippery slope where people go into sort of eugenics territory and sort of like, oh, like this is a well made white skull, whatever, or this is going to make someone more attractive. And they sort of put very bizarre expectations. So, sort of, and usually the skulls, whatever they sort of attribute to, is usually from white people, so it becomes an erasure of people of color, and that's the problem. Like people don't understand that something that is technically harmless goes into the lines of something very harmful. So you need to understand. You need to sit down and think like, am I getting this plastic surgery because I want to, because this is what I want, or this is because I was fed by someone online and this is why I need to do it. And again, like even in terms of dating, like if to talk about looks maxing people, like people just need to sort of try and see if they can go outside, try if they can communicate, try and see if they can form bonds, if they can find hobbies, interests, sports. And in general, we all need to go outside more. We all need to sort of have more interactions with our friends. We need to have more going out, more things we do outside. That's the thing. And so, to wrap up this whole thing, what I wanted to say was that, yes, unfortunately, what we had with trans people and passing tips started, it looks like we got the same thing for cis people, only now with Clavicular and his goons, you know? And on top of that, the problem is that it is very pertinent right now in our society. People do sort of fall for this, and he has a huge audience. And people listen to that because they think that that is the easiest way to understand something, which is because sometimes people just don't want to realize that the reason they're single is because they're not actually working on themselves, on their personality. And it's much easier to just go under the knife or to bone smash rather than to understand that maybe you're not a good person and you need to work on that, and that's okay. Personality maxing, like I just said. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. I've been very appreciative of all the views and all the interactions. Thank you very much.